I'm Isabel. I'm the founder and CEO of Immersive Rehab. 10 years ago, I was hiking in the hills of Ireland, enjoying life, being very active as always. And then I went back to work, and a bit after that, I had a severe work accident that left me immobile for a very long time. The accident resulted in a neck injury, head injury, and severe vertigo issues, so balance issues for a number of years. So I went through neurorehabilitation myself to get back through to the active person I am today. And going through that experience that often left me frustrated and demotivated in the way rehab is being done. Also, not knowing well you're progressing, not seeing how well you're progressing from week to week or even day to day was very frustrating. So I am a biomedical engineer and mechanical engineer myself, having worked in medical technology and medical devices before. So I started to look into options of technology to improve this situation and how to make it more engaging, in particular, how to give patients a better understanding on how they're progressing. So I started to look into different conditions like spinal injury and stroke. And I came across staggering numbers in terms of their progress, in particular from an upper limb perspective. So a lot of the patients were having very low improvements in upper limb. They were not really having independent lives anymore. So I started looking into different conditions like aside from stroke and spinal injury, I also looked into MS and was exploring whether that is similar within that condition. And sadly it is. So a lot of the neurological conditions that struggle with upper limb mobility, they sadly have a low progress in upper limb gains and mobility gains. So when we look at MS, for example, there's about 2 million patients worldwide, and the age on average is about 30 years old, of which those are a lot more women than men. This means that most of these people have professional lives, they are looking after their families, they have a personal life as well, so suddenly their life is put on hold and their independence is put on hold as well, because the more they will lose their mobility, the less they can live an independent life, and the less they can build up their professional career as well. Also, when you look at stroke in comparison, stroke has a large incidence of first-time strokes every year worldwide, which is about 17 million. Of those, all stroke survivors there will be about 50% of all stroke survivors that will have a permanent disability. So these are people that are in need of rehabilitation on a continuous basis. Also, the World Health Organization has predicted that the burden of stroke will go up and double by 2030, meaning that the situation is going to sadly become worse for a lot of people if access to rehab is not going to be improved in the future. So that's really where we want to help with our virtual neurorehabilitation programs. When you look at the current neurorehabilitation, it is very basic. It is very demotivating. People don't really see the point of doing these exercises, especially people when you have lack of fine motor skills, lack of upper limb mobility. It is very frustrating if you can't use your hands. It is extra demotivating if you don't really see the point of doing certain exercises or you don't see the progress of doing these exercises. So that's really where we want to help with as well, is to help, one, make it more engaging, but also give people a better understanding of how they're progressing from day to day when they're doing certain exercises, and also make it just more engaging rather than doing the same exercise over and over again for weeks at a time. We also want to help with offering quicker access to rehabilitation, where today for a lot of the conditions, depending on how severe your condition is, waiting times can go up to 12 months and longer if you have a complex spine injury, for example. So, and then again, when you leave the hospital to access community care rehabilitation services, there's again long waiting times, or depending on where you live, there might not be any specialized services being offered to you. Sadly, the coronavirus has increased the problems and the issues that exist within neurorehabilitation today because most services today are closed and they've canceled all their neurorehabilitation appointments. So patients that are in need of neurorehabilitation services, they don't have any access today. There's very few hospitals that are offering some type of virtual or a daily call-in service to patients to see how they are doing, just because of the lack of staff that they have and the pressures that they're on currently themselves due to the coronavirus. So that's really where we want to come in. We have already been working in clinic with therapists and neurologists to offer services to them so they can help their patients in an in-clinic service. But now we want to take a step further and speed up our solution to bring it also into a home setting where we can then offer the same type of treatments, where we allow people to start personalized rehabilitation programs for an upper limb training program and also for balance training so people can progress and also be followed up by their clinicians and therapists from um, remotely so they can see how patients are progressing, they can engage with them, they can change their programs from a day-to-day basis and check in with them to really allow a follow-up where now basically nothing is being offered. So yeah, our telehealth neurorehabilitation program will really allow also a clinician and a therapist to have a full report of how a patient has been doing from a day-to-day basis, and really also from a patient's perspective, it will be able for them to see how they've been doing today compared to yesterday, compared to last week, and how they can actually then engage with their therapist or their clinician to take the next steps in their rehabilitation program. So this is really our mission. We've already, as I said, worked in an in-clinic service where we work with therapists directly and neurologists to offer our services in a clinical setting. Now we want to speed up our services in a home setting. So our telehealth platform to bring care into a patient's home so that and then send back to the clinician whether they're based or the therapist whether they're based in a hospital setting or whether they're based in their home setting as well when they're in quarantine themselves so they can help follow up their patients through remote care. So as I said, it's personalization of our programs is very important because every condition is different, every patient's condition is different. So we want to make sure that patients have a program that is suitable for them and that also makes sense for them and their progress. And the objective patient assessments are really critical, especially when neurologists, for example, have to understand how a patient is progressing to maybe change their medicines that they're on and their treatments going forward. So that's really critical to make sure that patients are getting the best possible care, both from a treatment perspective and as from a neurorehabilitation perspective. So we have a large clinical network across the world. We currently mainly focus on Europe, the US, and Canada to ensure that we can scale up our programs in those regions first. We work with some really leading neurorehabilitation centers and clinics in these regions to ensure that we create the best possible experiences for the clinicians and the therapists and their patients going forward. So we've worked so far with hospitals doing trials in the UK. We are preparing longer term clinical trials also in the US, Canada, and the rest of Europe. These will be continuing when the situation will allow, depending on the coronavirus outbreak again as well. So we've worked with some amazing patients and therapists across stroke, specialized across stroke, spinal injury, NMS, and some ALS as well so far. And the feedback has been amazing, both from the therapists in terms of the engagement that they see with the patient, the concentration span that goes up with patients, the increase in mobility that suddenly patients can move more further than they normally are moving when they're doing their regular exercises. Also in terms of the opportunities that we give to physios and neurologists in terms of the exercises they can actually do with patients to understand how they are progressing and also assess their patients, where currently those are very hard to do with the tools that they have. And then obviously from the patients we've had great feedback in terms of their they loved trying it out. They felt it was really engaging and they could really understand how they were doing as well, which was really critical for which is really critical for their progress going forward. So as I said, I have a background in mechanical engineering and biomedical engineering, biomaterial science, specializing in medical devices and medical implants. I have more than 50 years of professional experience myself, having worked both across research and academia in large non non-governmental organizations and also for-profit companies. So we are very lucky to be advised by some amazing advisors at both charities specializing and supporting stroke, spinal injury, MS, also by regulatory experts in the medical device space at Allen and Overy. We have luckily great academic advisors within the field of neurological conditions and neurorehabilitation. And we have a great partnership with Microsoft in terms of our technological advancements and making sure that the platform that we deliver to patients will actually be delivered in the most rigorous manner, and also taking all data management approaches into account to deliver the best possible solution to both the clinicians and the patients in a home setting. We were featured in Time Magazine in 2019, which was really a great recognition of our work. We, as I said before, our aim is to really help as many people as possible, to reach as many people as possible through reimbursement plans and other programs within hospital settings and government settings to ensure that we really take neurorehabilitation to the next level so that we can complement the current care that is being offered by amazing healthcare professionals with our virtual programs so they can take their care to the next level as well. We are currently fundraising to boost our telehealth rehabilitation platform launch and continue our longer term clinical validation studies in various parts of the world, which will be really critical to get our solutions reimbursed as well, to reach as many people then as possible. We need to grow the team further and expand our R&D activities, and then continue the scaling up and expansion internationally. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please get in touch, and I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.